The number one reason why ECNL and MLS Next players will never get a real D1 offer, never play there, is because they're being selfish, okay? And they're falling into this trap of thinking that they don't need anyone else to help them out. I'm gonna walk you through in this video exactly what I've learned, the mistakes that I made that kept me from having so much more of a college career. Okay, we haven't met. My name's Chris. I work with center mids across the country to make sure they have a clear development plan and work with them watching their film and their training clips and making sure that they're ready to play at the next level. Because if you don't know already, only 1% of guys ever get to the D1 level. Even less of those spots are for center midfielders like you. Okay, and when you get to that D1 level, you get that offer finally, you get to post on Instagram and show it off, and you arrive on campus, a very small percentage of guys will even step onto the field. Definitely their freshman, sophomore year. Maybe they get to play junior and senior year at these high level teams, and even less guys will be able to start. Okay, and so the key to getting more responses, to getting more offers, is to just get better. And that's what I preach with the guys in my program. I'm like, look, the responses get a lot easier from these D1s when you're the best player in your city, right? Because if Messi was on your team, he'd already have full rides to every single D1 on both coasts. You know what I mean? So I'll walk you through in this video why doing it alone is ruining your career. Okay, doing everything alone is ruining your career. First thing you need to understand: you're simply unaware. You are simply unaware of the progress that guys are making out there. And the reason that you're like, why are these coaches not responding? Like, why does that kid have a D1 offer and I don't? I'm way better than him. Well, it's because the coaches are seeing so many potential recruits. And if you don't have the traits that they like, they're not going to be interested in you, because there's thousands of guys. There's guys in the transfer portal. There's ex-professionals who are 23-year-olds coming from Europe stealing your offers, and you're just not aware how many guys are using mentors or using coaches. They're getting feedback and using different tactics to get ahead, because it's about getting better. The game is about getting better. You need to get better. Even if you do sneak a D1 offer right now, maybe you're not quite ready for that level, you get the offer, what are you gonna do? Because you're gonna show up and you're gonna keep having to improve. You're not gonna be ready unless you're doing the right things now, okay? And you're simply unaware of how these guys are doing it, right? So they've got mentors, they've got coaches, they're watching film differently than you are, they're training differently than you are, they're also in a community training differently than you are. They're also in a community that you don't have. If you're anything like I was in high school, like you had your friend group and you had some guys in your team that were serious about it, but you still felt like you were the weird guy for trying to wake up at like 5 a.m. getting a session in before school, or like, you just wanted to win every single game, and you showed up to team practice and were frustrated because other guys were letting the intensity down. And you're like, come on, like, are we not trying to go and play D1? Are we not trying to get to the college level? If that's like you're in the wrong community. Okay, and if you don't supplement what you have now with guys that are similar to you, that are going to hold you to a higher standard, then you're just going to ruin your career. Honestly, the biggest thing that saved me in high school was finding guys who were better than me. Finding guys that all of a sudden, like, I didn't feel like I was this like super hard working, I was just grinding at the fields anymore, because we got to the fields and those guys were doing just as many sprints as I was doing. Those guys' touches were just as good as me because they had been training better than me, because I had to learn how to train properly. And this is the truth. It's the scary truth. You were simply unaware. Think about the guys that you know on your team, in your school, or in your city, and multiply that by, I don't even know, 1,000. Like there's tons of you out there. There's tons of you out there. So if you aren't improving at the rate that you need to be, then you're not going to get the looks you deserve. Honestly, you're just not. Again, I'm going to show you how in a little bit. But the second thing you understand is this thing, and I'm not gonna lie, like I had the concept in my head, I just didn't know if there was a name for it. So I asked ChatGPT. This is the name it said it was. I don't know if it's true, but it's the zone of tolerable misery. The theme is more important than the name. But the zone of tolerable misery. The idea of this is the best way is to give you a story, like an example. So say You're in a apartment, like you're older, whatever, you're living by yourself, whatever it is, in an apartment, and it's pretty bad. Like it's just dirty. Like the pipes don't work. Like your toilet always breaks, or like the faucet doesn't really run well. And it's just not great. And your neighbors are just like loud. It's not great, but you just keep going through it. Okay, you just keep going through it because it's like, okay, it is what it is. Like it sucks, but it just is what it is. You're going to keep living in misery and just keep suffering because you're in the zone of, it's called tolerable. Like this word is the key. It's tolerable misery. You're okay with it. Okay, compare you to the guy in a different apartment complex who's also miserable, but his situation is just bad. Like dude's got like rats all over his apartment. Like the neighbor not only is loud, but like is like violent towards him, like death threats or something. Pretty quickly, that guy's gonna be like, okay, this is bad. I need to get out, because he is not in a level of tolerable misery. He's in an intolerable level of misery. Okay, he hates where he is. He's gonna move, find a different situation, a different apartment, and then all of a sudden, in a few weeks, he's gonna be living in a more clean apartment, one that he found, like it's got better neighbors. He's gonna be living a much happier life and thriving, while the other guy, because his situation is bad, but not quite bad enough to make a change, he's just gonna keep suffering. Okay, and the point of all this is to apply it to where you are right now. Like if you're anything like I was, you're training on your own, you probably are improving a little bit. You probably have a good touch compared to your team, but you still show up to games and you're not confident. Okay, I would be the best player in practice. I'd be the best player. Like everyone would want to pick me first on the small sided, not to flex. But this is the part that's true. I would show up to games and just be average. The guys that weren't working as hard as me, that weren't passionate, that didn't have like the soccer IQ that I knew I had, were playing better than me in games, and they were getting offers and I wasn't, because I was inconsistent. Okay, and I was in this level of tolerable misery. Like I knew that I wasn't really as good as I wanted to be, but I wasn't bad enough. Like I wish that I was sat on the bench. I wish that my coach hated me. You know what I mean? And like the reason why is because if I was really in that bad spot, it would have forced me to get help. It would have forced me to work with a coach. It would have forced me to get more feedback, right? To change my habits. But no, I wasn't. So I was just living this 6 out of 10 career, still training on my own, still following the TikTok drills, still following these random influencers that don't even know who I was, telling me the top 10 tips and tricks to play like Messi, right? And I wasn't getting better. And until there was like when COVID hit and I really realized like, okay, this isn't tolerable, right? This isn't tolerable anymore. I'm not in, like, I hate where I'm at right now, because yeah, I'm improving a little bit. I'm getting better, but like there has to be a better way. Like these D1 guys aren't going up and down every single week and, you know, playing great one game, then making a mistake the next and just spiraling down. Like there's got to be a better way. Okay. And so that's when I got out. That's when I changed my training habits. And that's when I had an amazing off season. Took me 3 months to train the right way, think the right way, came back confident, Conference Player of the Year, D1 commit. I say that because it's possible. It really is possible. My point of all of this is like, ask yourself, like, are you in a situation where you're improving like a little bit, like just enough to like not make a change? Or would it be better off if you were just riding the bench? And then you would really make a change and you would really go out and seek help. You know what I mean? Because the guys that do know that they're not where they want to be, they're gonna trend upwards. They're gonna trend like this, right? And you're just gonna keep going like this. And they're gonna beat you. Right? So ask yourself, like, are you just being comfortable, or are you really improving as fast as you need to be? Because by the way, you need to be the 1%. Right? You need to be the 1%. Improving a little bit isn't enough. Okay, and like the point of like, you'd rather be on the bench and play, like maybe that's a little bit extreme. Okay, but you do have to ask yourself, like, are you improving just enough to just stay the same course? And that's not gonna get you the offers that you want. Okay, the third thing, and I don't mean for this to be harsh, I'm literally speaking to my younger self, trying to help that kid, because I know someone out there playing ECNL, playing MLS Next, center mid, sophomore, junior, senior in high school, has potential, not the confidence. You know what I mean? Like he's training randomly, but he's not actually developing. He's going in circles, but he really cares, so he wants to get to the next level, right? So I'm just speaking to that guy. Hopefully that's you. If it's not, you don't really care about college soccer, you don't really care about improving, and you'd rather just sit there and complain. Well, everyone else gets offers and you don't, and fair enough. You can keep watching if you want, but I'm not gonna be able to help you, okay? The third thing that you need to understand, and the reason that doing it alone is ruining your career, no one is going to save you. No one's going to save you. Okay, there's no one out there that, like, after a certain point in the situation we just ran, or we just went over, like where you're the guy, you're a decent player, not improving as fast as you need to be. No one is just going to reach out to you, grab you, be like, hey dude, like join, like you got to do this with me. Like I know exactly how to help you. Like, and they're not just going to do it. Like they're not just going to go out there to do it, because there's guys that are actively seeking help. Like I'll give you my example. I run a 12-week mentorship program. I got a community of guys that are killing it. I'm super proud of the results that they're getting, but those guys took initiative in actually like wanting to join. Like actually being like, okay, like this is something that's going to fit for me. Like how can I hear more? You know what I mean? I'm never going to reach out to the guy that doesn't show up to training, that doesn't train on his own, that isn't asking for feedback, that isn't like welcoming into the idea of self-improvement and improving as a player. I'm never going to reach out to that guy. Those guys are never going to get help. I was the guy in high school that I would have done the work, but I just kept to myself, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll figure it out myself. Maybe I'll figure it out. And I was like, okay, those guys are getting a private trainer, but like surely like they had just like some other situation or whatever. And then, oh, there they go. They committed to way better schools than I did. You know what I mean? So here I was, the guy that was doing alone, that was stuck with D2, D3s, finally got my D1 offer, but it wasn't like a huge school, right? I had to go continue to prove myself and then transfer when I went to a top 75 school, right? So no one is going to save you. So if you're just doing it yourself, you were literally missing out. And I know I've said it a lot in this video, but the thing that my younger self, no one ever told him, was how important it is to have a mentor, to have a community of guys that supports you, to have a program where you actually know how to develop. For someone that's been there before, right? Not just like a random influencer that doesn't know who you are, right? So this is the question to ask yourself is like, first of all, you gotta find help yourself. But the question is like, how valuable would you be to your 12-year-old self? How valuable would you be to your 12-year-old self? Say you're 16, 17, 18 right now, maybe you're 15. You could probably help him so well, because that guy didn't even know like that he's a centerman, that he was supposed to like check his shoulder. That guy didn't even know that he was supposed to train on his own at all. He had no idea what to do. How valuable would you have been to him if he was just eager to learn, probably like you maybe were there? He had someone to hold him accountable, to tell him exactly what to do, and he was put into a group of guys that were like-minded to him, that were very aspirational. Maybe that's different. When I was 12-year-old, I wasn't really that crazy aspirational. It hit more like I was like a sophomore, junior in high school, right? But how valuable would you be, right? Think about that. Think about the guys that have been through the D1 system, how valuable they would be to you. Pretty valuable. Okay, and the reason I say that, if this was helpful to you and you're realizing now that doing everything alone is ruining your career, like you're simply unaware of how much progress guys are getting, how many opportunities there are, even when you're in season, like there's, in my program, for example, like everyone's in season and they're still improving even faster than they would in the off season. Second thing, maybe you're realizing that you're in the zone of just tolerable improvement. You're improving just enough to just keep going, right? But keep going and improving just a little bit is going to keep you stuck with D2 and D3s. Third thing, no one's going to save you. All right. So if you want to work with me and you want to join the 12-week program, you can go and fill out the link. Again, show initiative, right? I can't help you if I don't even know who you are. You can apply, watch the video that will explain the program, watch some of the results that my guys are getting, how they're getting on college coaches' radars, because they're just getting better, right? They're being anti-outcome, pro-process. They're just focusing on getting better each day. You can watch that, click the link, apply. I'll reach out, see if it makes sense for us to work together. I don't let everybody into the community. If you're not going to hold a high standard, then you're not going to be a benefit to anybody. Okay. And I can't really help you anyways. Okay. So if that's you, apply. If you're a subscriber, then I'll keep coming out with content. Okay. Talk to you soon.